Welcome to the high-stakes, absolutely fascinating world of clinical research. If you're just stepping into this field, well, get ready for a tidal wave of acronyms. But hey, don't sweat it. I'm so excited to guide you through this explainer today, where we're going to master the essential alphabet soup of the industry. We'll be breaking down the three absolute foundational pillars that uphold every single clinical trial, making sure you are totally prepared for the road ahead.
Here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, the Investigator's Brochure, or IB. Then, we dive into the Trial Master File, the TMF. Third, the Investigational Product, the IP. And finally, we'll see how they all come together to ensure safe, valid trials.
All right, Section 1, the Investigator's Brochure. This is our very first pillar, essentially acting as the ultimate core reference manual for any research site.
As you hit the ground running in your new role, you're going to see this exact document format all the time. It's strictly required by regulatory authorities and global good clinical practice guidelines, ICH GCP. Why so strict? Because it guarantees that absolutely everyone working on the trial is totally on the same page about the product being tested.
Think of the IB as a living encyclopedia for the investigational product. And I say living because it's literally constantly being updated the second new data rolls in. It gives investigators all the crucial background, the potential benefits, and, super importantly, the known risks. It's exactly what they need to keep patients safe.
Now, the sheer amount of data packed inside the IMB is split into two main buckets. First, you've got non-clinical data. That's everything we've learned from animal models, pharmacology, toxicology, figuring out those safe dose levels. Then, we have clinical data. This kicks in when we actually transition into human trials, zeroing in on human pharmacokinetics, safety, and efficacy. It's essentially the entire biological life story of the drug. And it also maps out the whole progressive clinical journey. You can track how a drug meticulously levels up, from phase 1, which are those small safety checks in healthy volunteers, right into phase 2 for dose optimization, and then finally graduating into phase 3, the massive large-scale efficacy and safety trials. The IB is tracking that entire evolution every step of the way.
So here's the real kicker. The IB isn't just a textbook on how the drug works. It's practically a survival guide. It tells you exactly how to handle unexpected toxicities. We're talking known risks, potential drug-drug interactions, and precisely what labs or ECGs are required to monitor the patient. It even lays down the absolute law on how to report adverse events.
Okay, so with all this heavy data and intense guidance packed into the IB, we gotta ask a logical question. Where on earth do we securely store all this critical knowledge? And maybe more importantly, how do we prove to regulatory auditors that we're actually following all these rules?
Well, that brings us right to Section 2, the Trial Master File. This is our second pillar, the definitive vault of clinical research.
Let's crack open the TMF and see how it builds the foundation for true transparency and reproducibility in these trials. This isn't just a single folder tucked away in a drawer, it's an entire, robust system designed to house the absolute lifeblood of trial documentation.
Basically, the TMF is your central repository. It's the concrete, undeniable proof that your trial is accurate, up-to-date, and completely aligned with good clinical practice. It's maintained meticulously throughout the entire life cycle of the trial, because when regulators come knocking, this is exactly what they audit to verify that patient rights and data integrity were fiercely protected.
Now, while the main goal is always 100% compliance, the structure of the TMF can be split up. Depending on who's holding the files, you've got the overarching sponsor TMF, and then you have the investigator site file, or ISF, which is kept locally at the clinic. Oh, and fun fact for you. Historically, paper binders used to literally fill up massive warehouse rooms, but thankfully the industry is overwhelmingly shifting to modern electronic indexing systems, the eTMF. It makes retrieving and archiving files a whole lot easier.
So what exactly lives inside this vault? Honestly, everything essential. You've got the primary protocol and all its amendments, the informed consent forms signed by the patients, initial ethics committee approvals, and every single monitoring, audit, and safety report. Bottom line, if it proves compliance, it lives in the TMF.
Right. So we've got our encyclopedia in the IB and our secure vault in the TMF. But what exactly is the actual physical item we are testing and tracking so rigorously? What's the real star of the show here?
That brings us to Section 3, the Investigational Product. Welcome to the third pillar, the tangible core of the entire clinical endeavor.
The IP can take on a lot of different forms. It could be a new daily tablet, a cutting-edge injectable biologic, or even a complex medical device. Whatever it is, this physical product is the whole reason for the trial. And because it's experimental, you better believe it faces the absolute strictest regulatory oversight imaginable.
Formally speaking, an investigational product is any drug, biologic, or device tested in a trial. But here's a really critical catch. The IP isn't just the shiny new experimental drug. Legally, it also includes any placebo or active comparator product used in the trial to make sure the science is valid. And yep, they all require the exact same level of hyper-careful handling.
When it comes to the IP, accountability is just absolutely paramount. As a clinical research professional, you have to obsessively document the dispensing, the return, and the eventual destruction of every single dose. These go into what we call IP accountability logs. You're monitoring storage conditions like temperature stability, and ensuring every single trial-specific packaging and labeling regulation is met to the letter.
Okay, Section 4. Ensuring safe, valid trials. Let's zoom out for a second and tie all this alphabet soup together to really see the big picture.
These three distinct elements form a beautifully closed loop of knowledge, documentation, and physical accountability. You've got the IB acting as your guiding encyclopedia. Then you have the TMF serving as your central repository of undeniable proof. And finally, you have the IP acting as the closely guarded physical product being investigated. So, here's your ultimate takeaway. When these three pillars are maintained perfectly and they're completely aligned under good clinical practice guidelines, they guarantee that the clinical trials you're working on are safe, ethical, and scientifically bulletproof. Truly, they are the very mechanisms that protect human subjects and ensure absolute data integrity.
Which leaves us with one final thought. As you step into your exciting new role in clinical research, are you truly prepared for the profound responsibility of managing the data and documents that literally protect human lives? Mastering the INB, the TMF, and the IP? It isn't just about learning acronyms. It's about upholding the integrity of modern medicine. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and best of luck in your clinical research journey.